evening. We're a day late. What's the difference being a day late? A day late for what? I was off to. I went to Wyong today. That's why I didn't say a few words last night about yesterday and the other meetings. I'm going to do this very quickly because I'm out of my feet. Very tight. Go back to yesterday, week ago, where we had the meeting at the provincial meeting at Newcastle. Everyone knows where the rail was and what the conditions were. The track that day, I've got to say there was no bias. There was no bias on that track at Newcastle. Then we had a meeting the very next day on the Sunday at Gosford, and we know what the conditions were there. There was a good breeze out of the northwest there, and I've got to say again, there was no bias on that at Gosford today, a week ago. Of course, we had a swag and meetings on the Monday and the Tuesday, everywhere. That up there at the TAB. They're on every street corner. There's one in every lounge room. We did get to the headquarters on Wednesday to bet on the Kensington track, the Kenzo, on the old Kensington track. The media, aren't they wonderful? The media, they said, and also the people, the curators, and that was not so long ago. Was it 12 months ago? The Randwick Kensington track. The media said it. They all said the best track ever laid. It's the best track ever laid. The Kensington track. What a ripper it is. Oh, it's a beauty. Did you see the Kensington track on Wednesday? It was an absolute joke. It was a joke. As one of my a chap I know, who's a very, very sensible man, he said they're kicking up plates bigger than dinner plates. Have a look at it. Comes up the turf that was coming up. The best track ever laid. What a lot of hogwash. It's not worth 4 bob unless it's got water on it. You've got to have rain overnight. You've got to have rain overnight and plenty of it. And we'll say if it was an absolute, the course proper was a big bog, you could put it onto the Kensington track. I suppose you could race it. But when this track, God help, if there's no water on it, the track's not worth. It's not worth a drink of water. Pardon the pun. It is just fair dinkum. It's just like that when you get to the beach. When you get to the beach and when the tide goes out and that sand there that had that bit of water come up on it, and of course it goes real crusty, and that's exactly how this track is when it's dry. It's got to be the only time they should race on it is when it's if it happens to be a good track, there's no rain. You can't race on that track. You've got to race on the course proper. It's not worth a stamp. It's not worth a stamp. I went there. It was just like taking the food straight out of your north and south. Oh my God! I went there in the last race. I had it won out. I had it won out before the meeting, and then of course, being the biggest steam tug of all, and even knowing that you couldn't be, unless you were up near the lead or leading on the fence, or sailing around the fence, or up near the lead, you couldn't possibly win. You did see runners, didn't you, all day? As soon as they made a run coming down the side, and those back in the field, that was like being, in a dirt storm, in a sandstorm. It was all the sand coming back. Oh my God, they should have been racing with the handkerchiefs they have around their north and south, the riders up in Darwin. The kickback and the dirt coming back, and if you tried to make a run out down the outs down a swoop, well, you didn't have 100 to 1 chance. I went there thinking in the last race, the Tonopah was an absolute birdie. It was a shoe-in. We all saw it was a moral, and it only went from $4.40 out to $8. Everyone, Jerry, said, well, it won't be winning because it's going to be last. And who went to the lead in this race? Well, I own the led the favourite, Amanpour. What a good, sensible woman she is too. Amanpour, the CNN news broadcaster. I like listening to her. Well, anyway, Amanpour went straight to the lead, and that was the place to be. And if this track happened to be, we'll just say it was a little bit down the outside, it got beat in this race 1.3 lengths Tonopah. If it would have been the other way around, it was down the outside instead of favouring horses down the outside, I dare say, I don't know what the margin would have been. It could have been anything. Could have been 4 lengths, could have been 3, could have been 8. It just would have trotted in. It took off, and we all saw it, and its run ended with about 50 metres to go. And the winner, it was up on the speed, up on the lead on the fence, which was a lap start, So I bet accordingly. I'm embarrassed to say, I backed this for an absolute shite house full, and I felt like someone had a gun in my back, and they said stick 'em up, but then they took all my section. I should have been collecting there on a fair track. Oh, anyone who had a bet on that track, they'd be saying, oh, well, very wary what I do on that track again. Won't be betting. On the Thursday, just gone, we went to Hawkesbury, and as I say, well, and going back to all of those last 4 meetings, the wind factor, there was no wind factor to affect any runners. There was a light breeze at Hawkesbury, and again, look, the track played fair there. You could lead on the fence or come from behind. We went to Canterbury Park. I wasn't so long ago, a year ago maybe, or not even that, I was calling this the Greyhound track. Well, Canterbury keeps on improving. It's a great track, this Canterbury now. Well, the rail was 6 metres out. You could lead on the fence. But, well, the fence was obviously it was the shortest way home, of course, but and there was nothing wrong with it. But it's gradually evening itself out. You can come from behind here at Canterbury if you get some pace. So I've got to say a little bit favouring the fence, but nowhere as bad as we used to see it. And then, of course, we went to Rosehill yesterday, Cox Plate Day in Melbourne. The look of the Irish. Good on your island. I've got the bit of the Irish blood in me, don't you worry about that. Well, there was just no one there. Rosehill's a ghost town. It's a big pub. It's the biggest pub in town on Saturday, like Randwick. Come out to the pub, like there's all these young drunks there. It's fair to no grumble and grunters. It's just all drunks coming out, and young girls and boys they make a lot of noise. That's all they do. There was just nobody there. Now, the meeting, of course, we were all told that the track hadn't raced there for quite a while. It had been verti drained, and it most certainly favoured horses who were saving ground on the fence. We saw most of the runners up near the lead and saving ground on the fence. First race, the winner held up for a little while, Wine Tails, favourite, but was third on the fence, got a split. The next race, the favourite led all the way, Furnaces. Race 3, we saw the winner sit outside the lead and get home, ridden by the pump of the favourite Grand Marshal. In the third race, the distance race, there were 7 runners in the race, of course, and Chris Waller, he had 5 of the 7 runners, and he did get the trifecta. And the seven runners in the race, all of them, it was for 3-year-olds and upwards, but of course it's time of year, and the 7 runners were all 5-year-olds. But the pumper, I think, was the reason that favourite got home. And in the first race, this will tell you again what an advantage it is to be at the track. I can't believe our biggest pro, how long before he comes back? He's got to come back, because we're just giving section away, as he knows. At the track, the first race we only gave 100, the second race 97, the third race 97, the fourth race 97, the fifth race 97. Oh, we got a neat 100 in the sixth, less the Toyota Lexus, 97 in the seventh, and just to make a bird of it, to make sure all those usual suspects come back, we just bet the tick under the spot, 99 in the last. Ah, yes. And what did I say there in that third race? Yes, the Avery got home, sat outside the lead. The next race, Monton, the Avery sat outside the lead. Race 5, Spinning Diamond, it drew Current Bun, it had 1 alley. It got the split in between the leaders, in between the leader and the horse on its outside, and got the cash. If it would have been one off the fence, it doesn't run a place. Was there something? Yes, it was. Oh no, I won't say anything there. In that race, Pillow Talk was trapped 3 wide all the way. Race 6. Well, here we saw Atmospherical given a great ride by Bold Blake Shin, eased from an outside alley to go across. I think he got suspended over this ride. He brushed someone. Can't believe it. And he found the 18 pence and then just eased off their heels. Got a bit of a middle split and went out after them. The favourite in that race, Green Beret, very well, he got trapped 3 wide outside the leaders, which wasn't the place to be on the verti-drain track, and its run was better than it looked. Race 7, well, here we saw the leader get home, Road to Summer, who we all thought would lead. Was well backed at one stage, $8 into $7, hard to get, but back out to $8.50 towards the end of betting. And then we got to the last race, and well, going back to the 7th, these were the best 2 back runners all day. In race 7, Underestimation, the runner trained by Tony McAvoy, resuming from a spell, it was, well, you wouldn't see it, $4 given in the outside ring, but $3.70 on the fence. Only started 2 to 1, $3. And then in the last race, I couldn't believe the sensational backing for this favourite, Boss Lane. $4 into, they took my $2.90 at the end of betting. It was 3 to 7 to 4. $4 into $2.80. He got trapped 3 wide on it, no fault of his, T. Marshall, from an outside alley. We saw the very well-backed Dream Choice win this race. It was last on the fence turning for home. It was the winner that came from furthest back all day, but as the pace was on up front all the way, and it'll just tell you how emphasising how the track was an advantage, well, helping those, when I spit it out, leading on the fence and saving ground on the fence, because up in the lead we didn't cost a lot, just holding out King Cobia, trained by IO in the lead, and the favourite half carting 3 wide outside that pair, and didn't cost a lot, finish up running fourth, only beaten 1.4 lengths. It was a 60 to 1 chance, and it's not real strong. So that'll show you how it helped being on the fence and near the lead, and on the fence leading. Of course, in that race, possibly, well, in race 7, where the well-backed, or in race 6, I should say, with the well-backed, was it race 6? No, it might have been race 5. In race 5, where the well-backed Spinning Diamond had barrier 1 and got a split in between the leaders halfway up in the last furlong. That wasn't the case in the last race, where Winona Costin on Emblems, who was tracking 3 back on the fence, went for a split in between Heart Tester, who was on the fence behind the leader and got around its heels. And when she tried to get through the gap between the leader, didn't cost a lot, and Heart Tester, Serge Lisney said, no, Winona, you're not coming through here. And he pushed her back in. Well, it was just about to burst through Emblems. By the same token, its run was flattered by the run it had from barrier 2. But if that split would have, if the split would have come, she would have gone through, and Emblems, I think, would have won the race. It finished up running third, only beaten 1.7 lengths. And I'd say losing its momentum, well, taking everything into account, I've got to say that has been beaten 1.7, but the check it got, and losing its momentum was at least, I'd say, well, close to 3 lengths. So if it would have got through, I'd say there's a chance it might have won by 1.5 lengths instead of being beaten 1.7 lengths. Look, that was about the meeting. It was very disappointing for such a big meeting at this time of year. The Cox Plate, Rosehill is just becoming, as I say, in the marketplace, is just absolutely fly blown. It is absolutely maggotless. There's not a grumble, and there's no grumble and grunters there, except our biggest one, as I keep on saying, our biggest pro. He's betting off course at the moment, and we've only got 2 or 3 others left, plus all of their followers, the 16 to 20 of their followers, and that's about it. But not so for the robots in the grandstands. Oh no, they got the members in there. They don't want to be out there mixing with the riff-raff and all the drunks. And those robots, they've got all those customers. As you look, well, you might have, if you did see, I was jumping up and down there last Monday, wherever it was, saying a few words about the stand allocations of bookmakers in Sydney, which is a complete and utter joke. I must be, as I said before, I am a fair dinkum egg flip. One of our senior satchel swingers pulled me aside and heard about what he hadn't seen, but someone told him what I said, and he pulled me aside and he said, "Oh, son," he said, I thought you were smarter than that." He said, "You're wasting your breath there." I said, "What do you mean?" And then as soon as I said that, I was a jury, and I did know what he meant. He said, and I let him go, and he said, "Don't you know it's always been the same?" I said, yes, you're quite right. I forgot about that, you know. And what he, of course, meant was that those on the board, on the odd bar, on the board, well, who are the ones who got well, most of the agencies. It's feather your nest. if anyone is out there, if anyone is interested in taking out a Captain Cookie's license, I suggest you don't work, whatever you do, don't have any knowledge of racing whatsoever. If you have, you could be financial. Don't have any knowledge about racing, and just go to the bookies co-op and get guaranteed, and then go to Racing New South Wales, and they'll say, "Oh yes, well, you seem to be a nice chap," and then just go to the race, get into pull the right blokes aside, and just say to them, say, I don't want to be out here. I want to be in. They'll find a spot for you. The blokes who turn up every week and trade with the prices and the hardest grafters you've ever seen. There's blokes out there, there's fair dinkum blokes out there still cut their own hair. I'm telling you, they cut their own hair. They're that tough. You know, they're the ones we're dealing with, and they've got all the soft marshmallows, the robots inside, and they've got plenty of. So we're dealing out there. It's the toughest school you've ever seen. It gets worse all the time. Surely, with all these meetings that here we were today at Wyong, and I'll mention about Wyong just now while I think of it. We had a fairly stiff breeze there all day, which was behind them up the straight, and they were sort of running into it down the side, but it didn't affect any leaders from getting home. And I would have to say that the very clearly and I think rightly that the track at Wyong today also played without any bias. It was a fair track. There was enough pace. You could come from behind, or you could lead on the fence and win. And win. But surely, you know, come on, all you back punters, back up tomorrow. There's 100 meetings on tomorrow and tonight and Tuesday. You can catch the train out to Warwick Farm, and if you haven't got your fare in to get into the paddock, you can always go into the ledge. You know, the train pulls up right at the door there at Warwick Farm, and you can catch the train from Central, or you can come from anywhere and change at Granville and catch the train in. Oh, it's an absolute ripper. You'll be all out there on Thursday. Sure, I'm being stupid, of course, but the game it is going to reach saturation. Everything will just reach a saturation point where everyone will finish up throwing their hands up in the air and they say, well, what's happened here? Haven't we got enough meetings? Do they want more? No, you bloody fools. We don't want more. We want less. More, less. You see the horses that go around the provincials and in the city these days. Some of the city meetings, they're fair dinkum country meetings that they put on, like and the form you do of the provincials now. Those horses are. I suppose they don't even know what they're betting on. So yeah, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job, and the game's flying. Keep it up, boys. It's an absolute ripper. Good evening.